The moment you almost ignored, stop. Not tomorrow. Not after you finish reading everything. Right now. Because this is not just another message. This is not background noise. This is not content. This is interruption. And interruption only comes when continuation would cost you too much. God says, I am stopping you because you have reached the edge of recovery. And you don't even realize it yet. Why this found you now out of everything you could be doing, out of all the places your attention could have gone. You are here. And that matters more than you think. You didn't search for this. You didn't plan this. You didn't expect this. But something in you slowed down. That was not curiosity. That was recognition. God says, your spirit recognized restoration before your mind caught up. What you lost was never small. People think you lost something visible. A relationship, a position, an opportunity, money, time, stability. But that's not what broke you. What broke you was what left with it. Confidence, clarity, expectation, trust in timing, belief that good things could last. You didn't just lose something. You lost how you used to show up. And God says, I watched you survive without what once sustained you. The season that drained you. There was a season where you gave everything you had. You tried harder. You stayed longer. You waited patiently. You prayed honestly. You obeyed quietly. And still, it slipped away. That's when something inside you shifted, not outwardly, inwardly. You stopped expecting restoration. You started settling for management. And God says, you learned how to function wounded. But that was never your final form. Why rest didn't fix it? You tried rest. You stepped back. You distracted yourself. You stayed busy. You told yourself time would heal it. But rest didn't restore you. Because exhaustion was not the problem. Disappointment was. You weren't tired of doing things. You were tired of hoping again. And God says, I never asked you to numb the pain. I asked you to bring it to me. The loss that made you careful. After what you lost, you became cautious. Not weak, cautious. You started measuring words, lowering expectations, preparing for disappointment before joy arrived. That wasn't wisdom. That was self-protection. And God says, you learned how to guard your heart, but now I want to heal it. Why nothing has felt the same? Since even when things improved, something felt missing. You smiled, but not deeply. You moved forward, but not freely. You succeeded, but without satisfaction, because alignment was broken. You were moving, but not anchored. God says, success without alignment will always feel empty. The quiet signs. Restoration is near. Pay attention. Before restoration shows up externally, it begins internally. You may have noticed sudden restlessness, old dreams resurfacing, dissatisfaction with normal, discomfort with staying where you are, clarity trying to break through confusion. That's not random. God says, when I am about to restore, I first disturb what you settled for. Why this moment feels urgent. This isn't urgency based on fear. This is urgency based on timing. Some seasons don't repeat. Some windows don't reopen the same way. Some restorations require response, not delay. God says, waiting protected you before. Now it is limiting you. What restoration really means? Listen carefully. Restoration does not mean going backwards, reliving the past, getting the exact same thing again. God says, I don't restore by copying, I restore by completing. What returns will be stronger, wiser, better aligned, more sustainable, less fragile. You didn't lose it forever. You lost it unfinished. Why you were not ready then? This is important. If restoration had happened earlier, you would have idolized it. You would have feared losing it again. You would have depended on it. You would have broken under its weight. God says, I delayed restoration to strengthen the container. You. The shift that has already begun. Even now, something is changing. You're reading slower, thinking deeper, feeling more. That's not coincidence. God says, the moment you stop running, I start restoring. A truth you need to hear. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are positioned. And God says, what you thought was loss was preparation for restoration. What God has been rebuilding while you thought nothing was happening. Stop for a moment. Not because this is emotional, not because this sounds powerful, but because what you are about to read explains the silence you could never understand. You thought nothing was happening. You told yourself, maybe this season is empty. Maybe God has moved on. Maybe restoration was just an idea, not a promise. But God says, I was not absent. I was working beneath the surface. The work you couldn't see. You measured progress by visible movement, but God measured progress by internal stability. While you were asking for change around you, God was correcting things within you. Your reactions, your attachments, your dependence, your identity, your expectations. Because restored things collapse if the person receiving them hasn't been rebuilt. God says, I rebuild people before I restore possessions. Why you felt stronger and weaker at the same time. There were days you felt resilient and days you felt strangely vulnerable. That confused you. You wondered, why do I feel wiser but also more sensitive? Why do I see clearer but feel more exposed? God says, strength without softness becomes pride. Softness without strength becomes fear. I was balancing both. You were being recalibrated, not hardened, not broken, prepared. The strange shift in your desires. Things you once chased no longer excite you. Things you once tolerated now exhaust you. And things you once ignored suddenly matter. That's not boredom. That's alignment changing. God says, I removed your appetite for what could not go where I'm taking you. You didn't lose interest. You outgrew capacity. Why certain people couldn't stay. This part hurt. Some people faded quietly. Some left suddenly. Some relationships collapsed without explanation. You blamed yourself, but God says, they could not survive the version of you I was forming. Not everyone who meets you is meant to walk with you into restoration. Some people are connected to the loss, not the recovery, and I had to separate them gently before restoration arrived. The confusion that was actually protection. There were moments you felt unsure, indecisive, paused, unable to move forward confidently. You thought confusion meant delay. But God says, I blurred certain paths on purpose so you wouldn't run ahead unprepared. If clarity had come earlier, you would have moved too fast toward something that wasn't finished. So I slowed you down, not to frustrate you, to preserve you. Why restoration didn't come when you begged for it? Let's be honest. There were moments you cried out, moments you pleaded, moments you said, God, I can't take this anymore. And nothing changed, externally. That silence hurt. But God says, if I had restored it then, you would have clung to it for survival, not stewardship. Restoration that becomes a crutch eventually becomes another loss. So God waited, not because he didn't care, but because he cared too much. The internal miracles you overlooked. Look back carefully. You didn't just endure. You changed. You learned to say no. You stopped explaining yourself. You became more discerning. You trusted your intuition again. You stopped begging for validation. Those were not coping mechanisms. Those were preparations. God says, I trained you to hold restoration without fear of losing yourself again. Why this time feels different if you're honest. You sense it. Something is shifting. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. Your thoughts feel clearer. Your tolerance for misalignment is lower. Your patience is quieter, not desperate. God says, this is not anticipation. This is readiness. Earlier you wanted relief. Now you want alignment. That's the difference. How restoration will begin. This is important. It will not announce itself. It will arrive quietly. Through a conversation, an unexpected opening, a familiar door reopening differently, a decision that suddenly feels right, a peace you haven't felt in years. God says, restoration does not rush, it settles. If it feels chaotic, it's not from me. What I restore brings order, not anxiety. What will return first? Not the thing, not the relationship, not the opportunity. First, what returns is confidence in your discernment. You will trust your judgment again. You will stop second-guessing. You will feel peace choosing without approval. God says, when I restore clarity, everything else follows naturally. Why you must not force anything now. This is crucial. Do not rush. Do not chase. Do not manipulate outcomes. Restoration is already moving. Your role is alignment, not control. God says, let what is returning recognize you, not be hunted by you. What is truly yours will find you when you are steady. A warning filled with love. Hear this gently. If you rush ahead now out of fear of waiting again, you risk touching restoration prematurely. God says, do not reopen doors I am still reinforcing. Patience now protects longevity later. What you should do in this season. Not much. Stay honest, stay attentive, stay grounded, stay open, stay obedient in small things. God says, small obedience creates room for large restoration. The peace you're feeling is a sign. If you feel calmer reading this, that's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Your spirit recognizes truth. God says, when restoration is near, fear loses volume. A word just for you. You didn't miss your moment. You didn't waste your years. You were not forgotten. You were being rebuilt carefully. And God says, what I restore this time will not slip through your fingers. The restoration that will outlast your fear. Stay here. Do not rush to the end. Do not skim. Do not treat this like information, because this part is not explanation. This is activation. God says, you are not reading this to understand restoration. You are reading this to step into it. Why this restoration will be different. Everything God restores is not the same. Some restorations are temporary. Some are conditional. Some are lessons disguised as mercy. But this one is foundational. God says, I am not restoring what you lost the way you lost it. You lost things when you were unsure of yourself, when you overgave, when you tolerated too much, when you doubted your discernment. This time, restoration arrives to a version of you who knows when to hold and when to let go. What exactly is being restored? You keep thinking in terms of objects, people, outcomes, but God starts elsewhere. First, He restores clarity, so confusion no longer controls you. Authority, so you stop shrinking in rooms you were meant to lead. Discernment, so you recognize what belongs and what doesn't. Confidence, so fear loses its influence. Alignment, so peace becomes normal again. God says, I restore the person before I restore the promise, because a healed person will never mishandle what returns. About the things you thought were gone forever. There are some losses you buried emotionally, You told yourself, that chapter is closed, that season is dead, that door will never open again. But God says, I never called it finished, I called it paused. Some things didn't disappear, they waited. They were protected from the version of you that could not yet sustain them. Why time will not be wasted? You fear this question. What about the years I lost? God answers directly. I do not restore by returning years. I restore by redeeming impact. What took others 10 years will happen for you in fewer. Why? Because you learned faster, you failed deeper, you healed honestly, you matured quietly. God compresses time when preparation was intense. The moment restoration begins, watch this carefully. Restoration rarely announces itself. It feels like relief without explanation, peace making decisions easy, doors opening without force, conversations aligning naturally, opportunities recognizing you. God says, you will know it's me, because there will be no pressure. What God restores does not require begging, chasing, or proving. Who returns and who does not? This matters. Not everyone connected to the loss is allowed to enter the restoration. Some people are part of the lesson, not the future. God says, I will return what serves your purpose, not what satisfies nostalgia. Some relationships will be restored, transformed. Some will remain closed, protected, and you will finally be okay with that. Why your next season feels lighter. You noticed it already. Even without answers, your heart feels less heavy. That's because you're no longer carrying what wasn't yours. God says, freedom comes when you stop trying to fix what I already removed. This restoration doesn't feel like struggle. It feels like flow. What you must not do now. This is crucial. Do not rush decisions. Resurrect old habits. Explain yourself unnecessarily. Chase validation. Doubt quiet peace. God says, what is returning recognizes patience. The calmer you stay, the clearer the path becomes. The final shift. At some point, quietly, you will realize something. You are no longer afraid of losing what returns. That's how you'll know healing is complete. God says, when fear leaves, stewardship begins. A promise from God. Hear this slowly. What I restore this time will not require you to lose yourself again. You will not. Abandon boundaries, sacrifice peace, silence intuition, tolerate confusion. Restoration will feel safe. The declaration, not for everyone. If this resonates truly, then say this softly or write it if you choose. I am ready to receive without fear. That is not arrogance. That is alignment. What happens next? Watch the next days. Notice how calm your decisions feel, how unnecessary drama fades, how clarity increases, how direction stabilizes, how peace becomes normal. God says, restoration does not arrive with noise. It arrives with order. Final word. Beloved soul, you did not lose everything. You lost what could not last in the form it existed. What returns now returns complete. And God says, this restoration will not slip through your hands, because you are no longer the same person who lost it.